He lives, he really does. He walks, he talks, and he's an active participant in our lives and does fight with us as we move to bring as many people to the kingdom of heaven as possible. Today, I want to share with you the event that solidified my faith. He walked into the room. Physically, he is with us. He is protecting us, and he is not going to leave. Because of this fact, we can feel comfortable and not fear as we move as many people to the kingdom of heaven as possible. This symbol will be in the top right-hand corner for the sections of the video that some might find upsetting. Please feel free to scroll forward till you don't see the symbol anymore. When I first started recalling memories, God had me write them down, which is genius because when they first come forward, all the details are there. It's almost as if it just happened. The ritual I had been brought into this night was called the peace ritual. Not peace, P-I-E-C-E. That refers to piecing with Christ. They wanted me to profess that I knew Jesus was dead. This was a little problem for me because they told me I needed to be genuine. I'm not a great liar, and I knew he was alive. I was supposed to over and over again proclaim that he is dead, and they had made a cross for me that she said, well, you're supposed to make it yourself, but I made it for you, and it was the same thing. They were going to get me to say this over and over again, hold the cross, turn it upside down, say it over and over again, and then break the arms off. The symbol for this particular ritual can be seen on witches after they've done it. If they've ever been exposed to Christianity whatsoever, they have to do this in order to be taught their secrets. They had told me I had a gift, brought me to a specific area where a woman was sitting down. She was sitting down in between a row of pews. And yes, pews. They have pews in these places quite often. And this particular place was a Christian, was a decoy church. Really, really upsetting, very hard to deal with. It made all of these events much more shocking and confusing. They had me walk up to this woman who had my gifts sitting on the floor in between the pews. When I got there, I realized that there were 4 other people sitting on the ends of pews right close to me. They had blocked me in, and I didn't realize it because as soon as I came and sat down to get my present, my handler who had walked in with me sat behind me. So there was a person right here on a pew, a person right here on a pew, a person in front of me on the floor, one behind me on the floor, and then 2 on the other side. So I couldn't get out, and that caused a little bit of just something that made me nervous. Healing from this explained all of these quirks, and now most of these things I don't even notice. But at the time, it does cause a problem. One of the little, not exactly phobias, but things I didn't like as a result of this is the fact that I couldn't stand it when I walked into a room and there were people sitting on the floor. As an adult, this doesn't happen very often, but it did happen a lot in childhood, and it always made me very nervous. They explained to me what they wanted me to do. They basically wanted me to believe that Jesus was dead. And they gave a good argument. Or, well, no, that's a good argument. But they tried really hard. They told me that the people who worshiped Jesus were the brutal ones and they were the good guys. That I told them Jesus was in my heart, and they were fine with that. They said that was kind of like when someone dies and you still love them, you still have love in your heart, but the love is in your heart because they're dead. That doesn't make any sense. I didn't get it then. So I tried to witness to them. They were saying a lot of really bad things about Jesus. They said that he talked a lot. That bothered me for some reason. They said, oh, he just talked a lot. Oh, that bothered me a lot. So I was really becoming more and more intent, sort of in witness mode. I was going to be their hero. This did not work out. They did not want to hear that. I didn't even get that far because as soon as I said Jesus is alive in my heart, oh, they just that got really bad. They all started yelling at once, all very victimized. They were very, really, really mad, saying, "Dumb girl, you didn't mean it. You don't know how much that hurts us." They began to pick me up and shake me, pick me up and yell in my ears, and they would yell in my ears and then shake me, and then they would toss me back and forth to each other. I had come up with this plan that I was going to get out of this mess on my own. How many times as an adult I've tried to get myself out of a mess? I just needed to hand it over to God. That's exactly where I was. I was trying to figure out how to convince them to let me go. I had come up with this plan that I was going to go hide in the bushes, wait for them to search my house, and then go to bed once they had finished searching and couldn't find me. That did not work out. And God was talking to me. At that point is when I really started hearing him, on that evening. I had a relationship with him already. I knew he talked to me. But on this evening, it was like a whole window would open up from heaven. And I would have an elaborate team with me. It was wonderful. But with all the yelling and all, I don't think that I realized it until I really started concentrating on this plan. That didn't work. I tried twice. The second time I was pushed so hard backwards that I hit my head on another pew, on the one behind me, and it was a good little, what we call a goose egg, a little knot on my head the next day. I remember that. So this horror continued ridiculously for what seemed like about 30 minutes. Probably wasn't that long. I was hurting. I was scared. I was terrified. After the head injury, I had balled up on the floor, face down with my knees up, just hiding. So, and God was talking to me. It was this, it just seemed like there was a whole team in heaven working for me. Not working for me, but working in my benefit, trying to tell me what to do. My parents had given legal rights for the enemy to play these games with me and to try to turn me into something I wasn't. However, they were going to stand through. They stood with me. They stayed with me the entire time and never left me. So God was telling me that that wasn't going to work, but I tried it and got my head hurt. So he was telling me, call on him. Call on him. I had never heard of calling on the name of the Lord. I had a very sweet, very tender, devoted bond with Jesus. I really did. However, we weren't biblically taught. I mean, I knew basic. I was 6. I knew Noah and a few of the basic Bible stories, but that was way over my head. However, God told me, call on him. And I was like, well, okay, let me try this. And I said, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I wasn't loud. I wasn't confident, really. I meant it, though. I meant it enough that the entire atmosphere changed. It was like being on a different planet or something. This is very hard to explain. The air was different in the sense that it didn't seem to move. It felt as if something blew up, but nothing blew up. In that that instance in which I called on him, a lot happened all at one time. The adults that had encaged me in this human cage had all just dismantled, just like a bomb went off, like boom. I saw the one woman to my left. I looked over at her and I could see her feet and her hands, and she had grabbed the back of the pew in front of her and just pushed with everything that she had really, really hard to get away from me, just saying his name. Woo. At the same time, I heard a boom, a massive boom. It was a series of booms, really. It was like metal doors, boom, 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 very hard, very fast. I was told later that Jesus, well, they said what I did, which was call on the name of the Lord, but they said that it through their Lord. They had an actual cherub, a fallen cherub that they were serving. This does happen. It's not as common as, well, really, I don't know how common that is. They had a fallen cherub there that they were serving. It had a door. It could only come so far from the door. It's all in my testimony, but I don't focus on it. In that instance, when all this was changing, I wasn't exactly sure that these changes were good. I didn't know what to think. It was an enormous amount of stimulus all at one time. However, I looked up and I saw him. Even when I wrote my testimony, there's one little part of it that I kind of recall later where I did see him standing on the platform. But not knowing what was going on, I put my head back down and then I looked up at his feet as he walked toward me. Oh, the entire universe was wailing. The fact that all beauty, all strength, all power, and the truth was in a place of lies and just smut, you know. There was an imbalance, to say the least. I could feel it. It was almost as if in the spirit. In the spirit, I could hear things wailing, saying, "Don't get dirty." And that's what I wanted to scream myself. I felt it. Whoever this was should not get dirty. But it was a lot going on. He walked toward me, and when he got close to me, I felt that there was a bubble or space around him that was separate from everything else. He walked past me, and then he squatted. He put his hand on my shoulder and sort of rubbed it. I don't know if he made a noise or if it was just the moment. It just seemed like he awed at me, like he wanted to give me a big hug. But I still wasn't sure. It was like having an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. It was this battle within me about whether or not I could trust him, because I had been betrayed over and over again. And here this person is, and with so much power that I still to this day don't know how to comprehend it. He took my arm, he kind of grabbed my arm a little bit, very gentle, but he's very strong and very gentle all at the same time. Like the whole force of the universe is like flowing water. I don't know how to explain that. I try. I did a much better job writing it, but at that moment I didn't know what was going on, and I kind of shrugged him off. Yeah, I pushed him off, and then he left. He honored my commitment. He honored my decision. He did honor my decision, and that was something that he and I talked about a lot. It turns out, because we're made in the image of God, we have to have a sense of free will. We are learning creatures, and we're here on earth to overcome and change. Ooh, and I just walked right into it. This was probably the most beautiful and the most horrible night of my life. The biggest mistake I ever made, for sure. The rest of the evening got really, really hard. I prayed and thought a lot about whether or not to talk about those rituals. But if I do that, basically 98% of this video is going to be a trigger warning. It's going to be one little section where I can talk about it, and it's the gloriousness. And looking back, realizing that he took his time, his energy, and his power to help me overcome has left me with a feeling of love, appreciation, and caused quite a bit of devotion.